Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus here today. And today is Mother's Day 2022. And this is part two of a program that I am dedicating to the mothers that have come and to the mothers that have gone. Today, I specifically want to dedicate this portion of my presentation to the mothers whose sons and daughters are being murdered every day, whether it's on the streets, whether they're being murdered by a lack of economics, whether they're being murdered in Ukraine, or whether they're being murdered in Russia, or whether they're being murdered anywhere across this globe. If your sons and daughters or mothers or fathers are being murdered today as a result of the type of system that we have accepted to live under, then I'd like to dedicate this program to you. You see, on the part one that I presented for you, what it did, it described the kind of socioeconomic that would allow people anywhere and everywhere to live as though they are in their dream world. This is my concern, and I believe it is the concern of every human being that lives. However, the problem arises when you consider how do you achieve these kinds of things. And because I have a compassion for the truth of a spirit that I cannot see, that I allow to live in me, that expresses itself in a form that reaches out to each of you as it would to me, I feel it's necessary that I stand here and advocate for that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, you must understand, before we can make the necessary changes in the society that we live in, we must understand, first of all, that the society is corrupt. And a lot of times you will not find that the society is corrupt if you've been living it all of your life, unless you have something to compare it with. And to compare it with is to feed it up against those things that you would like to be, against those things that you cannot stand. And then you can begin to see. And from that, you can make the necessary steps or moves that needs to be made in order to get to where you want to go. In Itta Bena, Mississippi, this is my hometown. I'm in the park in Itta Bena. It's a nice little park right now, really, compared to the way it was when I lived here. I mean, it's got this little space here. It has some bleachers where people can sit and park, and they got stuff like some tank or machine gun or something over there. We got a lot of historical stuff here. This is a historical city. If people could invest in it like they wish they could, but how can they wish they could when they can't even live in a house that's decent? I'm not saying people don't live in houses decent, but I'm saying that there are those that can't. And it doesn't matter how many people are living in a decent home. It doesn't matter how many people got decent jobs. As long as there are people who don't have decent homes, as long as there are people who don't have decent jobs, then the problem exists, and it must be eradicated. And it's only going to be eradicated by those who care. Now, what I would suggest that Americans can do all over the globe, but starting here in Itta Bena, you know your predicament. I would suggest that some leadership or somebody, some concerned citizen in Itta Bena, go around and communicate with people about issues that come about when we start talking about life. And those things that are common, get those conversations going and be able to identify those particular areas where each family or individuals are suffering. And then take it to your elected leaders. These are guys who have said that they know best about how to deal with your particular situations. They've asked you to vote for them. You voted for them. And they are in office. Now you're waiting for them to do something. Are they doing what you would require them to do? They have probably got some excuse, because what is. But if you start going up there and laying on the table saying, this is where you have failed, this is where we need you here, we need you now, and give them the opportunity to respond. If they can't respond, they're going to give you a reason. They might say, we don't have the facilities, we don't have the essentials that are necessary. Well, at least they're giving you some facts. But now that doesn't mean you give up. That means if you can't, then let's go where we can. And this happens in Greenwood, this happens in this happens in Burners, this happens in every city and small town or whatever in the state of Mississippi. You identify your problems where you're suffering at. People can come a real big when they want to make laws about your rights, abortion, stuff like this. They want to tell you what you can do. They want to make you conform. They want to put penalties on you, but not change the conditions that created the problem. This is about changing the conditions that created the problem. This is about making it right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Identify these problems within these cities. Identify these buildings that's falling down. Identify these properties that need to be uplifted. Identify the people who don't have adequate housing. Identify the people who don't have the necessary education and necessary health care. Identify all of these things, and you take it to your state representatives. And what I've just said about every city, taking this stuff, organizing it, taking it to your local representatives, and when it has responded in like or in kind, take it to your state representatives. Now, what has happened in the state of Mississippi now is happening all over the country. I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you to engage yourself. If you can envision a beautiful life without lying and cheating, a beautiful life without crime and violence, a beautiful life without hatred and racism and bigotry, if you can imagine a life where people smile and got careers and uplifted, if you can do these kinds of things and you would like to play a part in the participation of it, then I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, to embrace what I'm saying to you and take an action and do something about it. It's not just going to happen. But I would say that on Mother's Day, this day, knowing and identifying all of these problems and deciding that you're going to do something about them rather than just go to church and sit up and talk about God, but you're going to allow God to be alive in you so people can know that God is real. If you want to be real in this process, then you can attach yourself to this in any form, fashion that you feel is acceptable or that you can. And I'm sure every effort made to do anything will be appreciated. Would be appreciated. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm actually talking to you about, ladies and gentlemen, because these are things that are very essential in our lives. They are very essential in our lives. And as a spokesman who stand before you and tell you that I'm a child of God, tell you that the God that I serve is a God of love, and I know this God of love requires the same kind of action that the God of hate requires for Russia to drop bombs on innocent people in Ukraine. It requires the same type of love, my friends, to stand up for you as those who are trying to take away your voting rights in the United States of America, or those who are trying to tell you that it doesn't matter if America says you want to have that protection. Several or 9 other people can make the decision as to whether you can or cannot, and then decide that you might be put in jail, you may be prosecuted, or whatever degree they want to punish you, that this stuff can happen to you. Why? Because it's illegal. Why? Because it's ungodly. And the force of what they can do to you is the power that the devil will always use. So I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, this is hell we're living in. There's no other way you can look at it. And I want you to go to part 1, refresh your memory, and see what beautiful, wonderful society that the Creator has prepared, not just for the sun, not just for the rockets that's up there in the sky, but for you and for I. Keep this in mind. This is my dedication that on this day, I will settle for no in between. You either hate me or you love me. You love me because I stand up and represent the concerns of all people, or you hate me because I represent the concerns of all people. Thank you.